So you're going to find lots of information about flashcards. There are flashcards that you can buy, such as from Flipsco cards, which will give you nice summaries. You can get ones with shorter summaries, including the keywords and the quotes. You can buy ones which have got the themes already mapped out for you in mind maps. You can make your own with some of the key words on it. There's nice styles that you can use where you would give a quick summary of maybe a character and 5 key quotations, then pop a contextual link in, colour coding them for each of your characters. But actually, in English literature, it's all very well accumulating that knowledge, but how can you actually use them effectively to prepare you for the application of that knowledge in the exam? And that's what I'm hoping to very, very briefly run you through today with some ideas. And if you've got any questions, I run revision after school every Thursday in E6. I'll be more than happy to show you how to use these in practice in more detail. So I like to start my flashcards very quickly with a folded piece of A4 paper into quarters. I'm going to put the title of the topic that I'm going to be having a look at, the exam question I'm going to be preparing myself for. So as a nice starting point, I've decided to go with the importance of Lady Macbeth, which will be one of your first exams, your English Literature paper 1. And I've just popped that at the top of one of the quarters of my flashcard. And then underneath that, I have put some clues for myself. So my clues that I need to talk about are how she starts the play, how she develops, and what the significance of that is. So I've given myself clue number 1 is equal. Clue number 2 is about the blood and water scene. Clue number 3 is the significance of guilt. I've then put my reminder of my narrative arc with the context there. And the last clue is to remind me that I will need to talk about the lasting impression and why Shakespeare has created her in this way, so that I'm focusing on that keyword of the importance of Lady Macbeth. So the first clue that I gave myself will go on the first quarter. So my clue was as an equal. So I've popped the line powerful and equal to Macbeth there. And the first quotation that I've drawn out is when Macbeth writes to Lady Macbeth in Act 1, Scene 5, and refers to her as his dearest partner of greatness. So I've popped that quotation there, using my revision book, using my notes, because that is the key quote that I want to use. I've then found myself a second quote, "Come you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts." That shows how she's powerful and links her with the supernatural. I then thought about how she communicates with Macbeth, and she tells him to leave all the rest to me. That reminds me that she's the one who has concocted this plan to kill Duncan. And therefore I've got my 3 quotes that I would talk about of how Lady Macbeth is established as a powerful equal at the start of the play. I know that within my first paragraph in my exam, they are the quotations I want to use with my explanation. My second clue was about blood and water. So in the next quarter of my flashcards, as I turn my paper over, I have put that she initially lacks remorse. She remains in control throughout the scene as they have killed Duncan and are dealing with the aftermath. And she berates Macbeth. She says a foolish thing to say, a sorry sight. And I've reminded myself of that using my exercise book where I had drawn the hand, which detailed all the quotations that I would need to talk about this scene. She goes on to state, "A little water clears us of this deed. How easy it is then." And I would, from my memory, then be able to talk to maybe the person who's testing me on my flashcard about that quotation, about what that means. It's a significant one because it shows us that she doesn't believe that she will be feeling any guilt, and that is all they need to do is just wash the water off their hands. And Macbeth just needs to get some control of himself and stop being so emotional about it. She then reminds him what's done is done, which very much shows us that she is in control as the character develops, as the play progresses. She seems to be very calm, very rational. Her Machiavellian nature is shown through these quotations. So I know that my second clue, these are the 3 quotations that I'm going to use, and that's where my essay response in that exam is going to develop. On the next slide, I am going to be reminding myself that it was about the significance of guilt as the play moves from its climax into that falling action section. Lady Macbeth begins to recognise that naught's had all spent where our desire is got without content, which really emphasises to the audience that she is beginning to feel guilty, that she realises that what they've done hasn't made them happy. The second quotation that I want to use when I'm thinking of the significance of guilt is the shift of language, where in the previous section we talked about she told Macbeth to get control of the situation with what's done is done. Her recognition that what they've done cannot be undone. And that little play on language there is a really interesting one. It's nice and easy to remember because the repetition of the language. And so I would be able to talk about how Lady Macbeth shows how guilt will affect even the seemingly strongest of characters. And of course that leads me very nicely to her hallucinating, the infamous out-damned spot speech, where she is trying to wash the invisible blood off of her hand, and I would know that I'd be able to talk about that. And ultimately the significance of guilt and the importance of Lady Macbeth is the Queen, my lord, is dead. The fact that she has been driven to suicide by her actions, which is Shakespeare really telling the audience to think very carefully about your actions. So the last quarter of the text, the last quarter that gave myself the clue for, is that lasting impression. And the last reference that we have to Lady Macbeth within the play is right at the end when they talk about Macbeth as the dead butcher and his fiend-like queen, which just reminds the audience of her supernatural ties to the witches, and the unnatural influence that she has on Macbeth. She's a very powerful character, and the impression that she leaves on everyone is one of evil and malevolence, and that draws me very nicely to thinking about the importance of how she's been presented in the play as a whole. So in this very last section of my flashcard, I'm just going to very quickly remind myself of the contextual points, because we know that in the whole play question we have to refer to context. So the relevant context that I'm reminding myself of here is the Jacobean fear of the supernatural, powerful people and how they're dangerous to the king, the disruption to the great chain of being and the divine right of kings that the regicide has, and how that is a very dangerous position to put yourself in. And of course, regicide and retribution. So just very quick reminders, that's going to be similar on every context section of your flashcards as you make them for yourself. So I'm going to show you what these look like and very quickly tell you how to use them. So as I unfold my flashcard now, I've given myself a little bit of space. I've got all of that information, and my task is to have a go at writing very briefly the topic sentences or the paragraph starters that I would use then to create my essay. So as I unfold my flashcards, my A4 piece of paper that I started with, my opening side looks like this. My second side looks like this, and I have everything that I need at hand to begin to think about how that would look, and I would use that flashcard then to rehearse what I would write. So what I have now to revise from is when I folded my piece of flashcards back up, this is what I would use, and I would get myself to the point where I could use those quotations without having to open up the flashcard. So over time, I'm taking this piece of paper out, I'm having a look at the opening slide, as you can see in front of you, and being able to talk through those quotations that I would use for each of those points. Therefore, I have in my head the essay structure, the quotations that I would need if I get into the exam and the question is on the importance of Lady Macbeth.